welcome to this since new guidelines issued by Government of India has been notified. We thought we will have this media interaction so that we can talk about the new guidelines and everybody is made aware of the changes that are taking place and the new steps that we are taking and the relaxations that have been made in the existing guidelines as far as handling this COVID-19 situation is concerned. So what I will do is, because it's important that everybody understands the guidelines and their implication, so I would briefly explain the guidelines to you all, and thereafter maybe we can have clarification on any issues that you might want to raise. So you all know that on 15th of April 2020, MHA issued revised consolidated guidelines, and accordingly we have also further notified these guidelines insofar as these guidelines relate to our state. There are so many things which really do not pertain to Sikkim, so we have excluded those things and we have come out with our own set of revised guidelines which are essentially based on the guidelines issued by Government of India. So first of all, it's important to understand that we are still in a lockdown situation. Period of lockdown has been increased to 3rd of May 2020. It's just that few relaxations have been made because maybe these relaxations were necessary taking into account the current situation. But by and large, we have to understand that the lockdown period is still not over and we can't really relent. We have seen the situation in Sikkim also. We are very lucky with the cooperation of everybody. We have been able to handle the situation much better than many other states so far. But I was a little disappointed to see that on 13th and 14th of April, people hoping that lockdown period is going to be lifted from 15th. So 13th, 14th itself, we could see large-scale violation of these guidelines, people coming out in open and a lot of vehicles moving on the roads. General public has to understand that one small miss here or there could result in difficult situation for us. Our people have been very, very disciplined, very well informed, very cautious and very compliant as far as these guidelines are concerned. And it is my sincere request to all the Sikkimese people to bear with the situation for some more time and ensure that we observe these guidelines in the same manner as we have done in past. So, what is prohibited and not allowed is public transport. So, buses and taxis won't ply. Inter-district and interstate movement of people. So, within Sikkim also, movement is not allowed, it's prohibited. Only in case of medical emergency, with due permission from district collectors, this kind of movement can be undertaken. Otherwise, in general, it's a no. Educational institutions will remain closed. All industrial and commercial activities were closed and will remain closed till 19th, and from 20th onward will also remain closed unless specifically allowed. I'll come to the activities which are allowed to be undertaken after 20th, but by and large everything is closed. Hospitality services closed. All public places, you all know, cinema halls, malls, shopping complexes, gymnasium, all places where people collect, those are closed. All kinds of functions and gatherings, whether social or political or sports related or entertainment related, academic, cultural and religious also. These activities are prohibited, including congregations at religious places or places of worship. In funerals, not more than 20 persons are allowed. So this is the generality. Up to 3rd of May, all these activities are prohibited. Now to mitigate the hardships, from 20th April onwards, certain activities will be opened up, and I'll just quickly run through the list. Why I'm dwelling at length on these guidelines, the reason is that through media, everybody should understand the rationale behind these guidelines and also understand very, very clearly what is permitted, what is allowed and what is not allowed. All health services will remain open, which includes hospitals, nursing homes, chemist shops, medical shops, laboratories, and veterinary hospitals also. And production of pharmaceuticals, medical devices, and movement of all medical and veterinary personnel, scientists, nurses, paramedical staff, lab technicians, whether it's interstate or intrastate. So health services are, in a nutshell, fully open and fully operational. Agricultural and related activities have been now allowed, so farmers can freely go and work on their farms. Fisheries related activities are also allowed. Tea plantation, specifically in our situation, Temiti will operate with maximum of 50% of the workforce. That is allowed. Similarly, as far as animal husbandry related activities are concerned, collection, processing, distribution of milk products and their transportation is allowed. Activities of poultry farms are also allowed. Animal feed, manufacture, distribution is allowed. Goshalas will be allowed to operate. As far as financial sector is concerned, banks and ATMs and the related activities will be allowed. Insurance company offices will function normally. Then in social sector, children home, homes for disabled, mentally challenged, homes for senior citizens, destitute homes, homes for widows, juvenile homes, etc. will be allowed. Then activities relating to distribution of pension to aged people, widows, freedom fighters, etc. will also be allowed. As far as Anganwadis are concerned, distribution of food items and nutrition once in 15 days will be allowed. Now, in a significant relief to the rural sector, AMG Narega works will be allowed to commence from 20th onwards. Of course, norms of social distancing will have to be observed in all these activities. Then public utilities and essential services like transportation, distribution, storage and retailing of petrol and petroleum products, CNG, LPG, PNG, etc. is allowed. Power generation and distribution, operation of post offices, utilities, municipal utilities like water, sanitation, waste management allowed, telecommunication and internet. These facilities are also allowed. And travel relating to these activities. So movement of, for example, telecom personnel is also allowed by extension of the definition. Now, goods traffic will be allowed to ply with one driver and one helper. So only two persons will be allowed. Empty trucks will not be stopped because they might be returning after delivering the goods or to pick up the goods. And of course, the specific guidelines as far as interstate movement of trucks is concerned, Transport Department and district collectors will issue additional guidelines. But in general, movement of goods is allowed. But then we'll have to see in our situation and circumstances what are the additional precautions that we need to take. Of course, movement of essential goods anyway is allowed, but for other commodities also is being opened up. We'll see what restrictions we need to put in place to make sure that we stay safe. As far as essential goods and commodities are concerned, the wholesalers and retailers activities will be allowed. I need not dwell on that. On essential commodities, there is no doubt. Now, commercial and other private enterprises and establishments, media will continue to be free. IT and IT-enabled services, but only with 50% staff strength. Government-approved common service centers will be allowed. E-commerce activities will be allowed. So, home delivery of goods purchased through e-commerce will be allowed. Courier services will continue. Cold storage, warehousing. Activities of private security services will be continued. Some of the hotels will be designated by district collectors in their respective districts for people who are stranded. So, one or two, maybe in each district headquarters, collectors have already done that. So, those hotels will operate, but otherwise, in general, hotels will remain closed. So, and then, of course, self-employed persons like electricians, IT repair personnel, plumbers, motor mechanics, carpenters, etc. Industrial establishment in rural areas, all industries can operate. Essential goods, their manufacture, including drugs and pharmaceuticals, it was allowed earlier also, will continue to be allowed. Of course, they will have to follow standard operating procedure. What is the standard operating procedure? We have enclosed an annexure with this notification, and this has been circulated to everybody, and everybody is expected to observe those norms as far as operations of factories and commercial establishment and industrial establishments are concerned. As far as construction activity is concerned, in rural areas, all kinds of construction, whether public or private, will be allowed. So there is no restriction on construction activities. This will soak in large number of stranded laborers who are working on construction sites. And even in other areas, continuation of existing works, but only with the existing locked-in labor. If at the construction site or in the vicinity, the labor is available, activity can be started. But movement of labor from one place to another place will not be allowed. Idea is those who are stranded, who are laborers, who are very close to the work site, if work can be commenced by following certain norms of social distancing and safety precautions, then those construction activities should also be allowed to operate. As far as movement of persons and vehicles is concerned, there are certain instructions which have been issued by the Home Department and concerned district collectors also. They will remain in operation. As far as functioning of government offices is concerned, we have already issued a notification. Basically what it says is that from 20th, government offices will become functional. And all officers of the rank of Joint Secretary and above will attend offices normally, and other staff, for other staff, the head of the department or head of the office will decide how many are really required. Maximum should be 1/3 of the strength. Idea is that services should be carried on, but at the same time, crowding or too many people collecting in one place should be controlled. And of course, police, home guard, civil defense, fire, emergency services, etc. They will keep operating as it is. So this is as far as government offices are concerned. Now, and I request you all media personnel to give it widest possible publicity. These directives will be enforced by district magistrates under Disaster Management Act. These are national directives, and these directives have been issued in the interest of public health and safety, and in that sense they are sacrosanct. So if somebody is not observing these directives, then punitive action can be taken as per the provisions of Disaster Management Act. Now, it may not be very pleasant idea to talk about what penal provisions are, but suffice to say that anybody defying these instructions or guidelines renders himself liable to penal action. Never should there be an occasion to proceed against anyone under these provisions, but that can happen only when people exactly know what these directives are. Otherwise, normally what happens is the standard stock reply from people is that, oh, we didn't know that we were violating the law. That's why I request that we should talk about it also, and we should give due publicity to these things. Now, what are these directives? So, in public places, wearing of face cover is compulsory. Now, if you go on the streets of Gangtok or any other town in Sikkim, you'll find that about 50 to 60% of the people are wearing face covers. Now, it doesn't have to be a mask. It doesn't have to be a medical mask. It could be any cover. Even Prime Minister has said that you just have to cover the face, and you must have seen Prime Minister in that video conference where he actually was covering his face by gamcha. So Honorable Prime Minister wanted to convey this message to everybody. What is important is that when I speak, then the droplets do not fall in such a manner that others are likely to be impacted by that. So wearing of face masks is compulsory. Everybody should wear that. It can be any cover, it could be any cloth. We have in fact asked our self-help groups operating under Rural Development Department to start producing cloth masks to cover the faces. It won't cost much, and it's very convenient to produce those things also. Social distancing, everybody knows about social distancing, and that has to be maintained in all public places, whether people go for shopping and stand in the queue, that time also they have to maintain the distance, or any other public place. Social distancing is very, very important. Then gatherings such as marriages or funerals, there also you have to maintain that. Spitting in public spaces, this is very, very important. You must have seen those disturbing videos which keep circulating on social media. Now, covering the face mask and ensuring that people are not allowed to spit in public spaces, that's very, very important from public hygiene point of view, and also from the point of view of containing the spread of this virus. And of course, gutka, tobacco, etc. should not be allowed in workplaces. Temperature screening के लिए arrangement करना है, sanitizers होने चाहिए. Of course, this may not be necessary in Sikkim situation, but in places where in one particular place, large number of employees come, then maybe staggered office timings should be in place. And persons above 65 years of age and less than 5 years of age, they are especially vulnerable. So they should be advised not to venture out much. And again, there is another important thing. I must talk about that. Arogya Setu, this app. Now onwards, I think this is going to be a very, very important tool in our state also, in our situation also, as far as management of spread of this virus is concerned. I'll explain it separately, but I think we should encourage everybody to download this app. When I talk about other measures that we are going to take now onwards, I'll specifically talk about it and say why it's important. But I think you all understand that if Singapore has been able to control the spread of this virus, they have used technology very, very extensively. Similar technology where there is an app. Now, what does this app do? I think somebody from NIC is here. No. Okay. But basically, what this app does, like I have downloaded this app. Now, if say somebody in my vicinity, he is infected, I get a signal here, right? If I get infected, it's easy for health personnel to do contact tracing because it operates on Bluetooth. So during last 14 days or 10 days or 15 days, whosoever I have come in touch. Now, I might try to recall on the basis of my memory, and I might remember few names, others I might forget. But technology doesn't fail. So it becomes easy to trace the contacts. And then apart from that, there is a lot of other useful information also. So I think we should encourage our people. Everybody has a smartphone. Everybody uses Facebook. Everybody uses WhatsApp for social purposes. They should be encouraged to download this app. And what are the restrictions and what are the prescriptions that we are going to put in place? I'll deal with that separately. But suffice to say, whether it's your own office, in your media house, or any other government office or private office, I think the first thing that the employers or the head of the organization should insist on is that employees, they download this app. Even Honorable Prime Minister talked about this app in his address to the nation. So, large meeting should be prohibited. In fact, meeting of this type, of course, is essential to disseminate this information. But at the same time, you will appreciate that we are having large meeting of this type only for the first time. Manufacturing establishments, frequent cleaning of common surfaces, hand washing, communication of good hygiene practice, all these things have to be ensured. So this is a set of national directives. And then, of course, there are standard operating procedures which need to be followed for ensuring social distancing in offices, workplaces, factories, and establishments. I'll quickly go through these. So, disinfection of the premises, especially the entrance gate of the building, office, cafeteria, because these are the places which are frequented by most people. Meeting room, conference hall, equipments and lifts, washrooms, toilets, walls. People coming from outside, special transportation facilities have to be arranged, and we have to ensure that there is no crowding in those buses, and then those buses are frequently disinfected. Thermal screening of everybody entering. I don't know whether you noticed that. Did the policemen do the temperature taking? I don't think they must have done. So this has to be a standard practice in every public place, every government office, and every private office also. And wherever we have large number of employees, then 1 hour gap between shifts. Large gathering should be avoided. लिफ्ट में 2 या 4 की लिफ्ट है तो 2 लोग उसमें ट्रेवल करें, 6 की लिफ्ट है तो उसमें 3 लोग ट्रेवल करें. लोग स्टेयर केस से चलें, लिफ्ट में ना चलें, गुटखा वगैरह पे बैन रहे. एंड वी शुड एनकरेज नॉन एसेंशियल विजिटर्स नॉट टू कम टू ऑफिस. फोन का इस्तेमाल करें या सोशल मीडिया का इस्तेमाल करें. So these are in nutshell the standard operating procedures which are duly notified, and we expect that everybody will observe these guidelines and follow these practices.